And Rachel, just explain for those who haven't been keeping an eye across this, what is this guidance and why do you think it's so important there's clarity on it?
So, I mean, it's guidance on, basically on, you know, a range of issues around what to do about transitioning, social transitioning, about trans children, and we've also been looking at RSE as well. Now, there's been an independent panel who have put together some advice, and that's been delayed. I'm calling for it to be shared as soon as possible. Why? Because we've got clear safeguarding issues here. We need to keep all our children safe, and we need good guidance on how to do that. This is an emerging issue, and we've got 23,000 schools, and head teachers are doing their very, very best and giving all the pastoral care and support for every child needed. But we don't need 23,000 different solutions. We need, you know, to have real consistency and to have a sense of we've got a really, you know, strong, clear approach for how to deal with this. And actually, children tell me it's unfair when you know, different schools do things differently. They want, you know, fairness and, you know, for things to be done properly.
So do you think it's fair that some schools are not informing parents, for example, if a child asks to be addressed as a different sex at school, and then other schools will inform parents?
Yeah, so that's why I think my first point about safeguarding, you know, as a head teacher, I would not, you know, be able to give a spoon of medicine to a child without the parents' permission. And I think parents are key partners in this and need to be, you know, absolutely aware. I've been really strong and advised governments on things like materials used to teach relationships and sex education. They've got to be transparent. We have to have our parents as real partners, you know, in their children's education. So I think we need clear guidance that, you know, is within a proper legal framework so heads know what to do. As I say, we pastorally support children and families very, you know, in every way we can, but this really is a fast emerging issue and we need that clarity. So I was a bit disappointed to see that the guidance was delayed. We need it now.
Why do you think it's been delayed?
I really don't know, and I just am very keen. I would imagine, I really don't know. I hope it's because, you know, it's just to make sure that
the theory is it's because it's such a controversial issue that the Conservatives are worried about what people will think. They will alienate either side of the debate.
I mean, I don't think that's... I mean, we're talking about the children of our country here and the families, and I think that's what's got to come first. I hope it's just about making sure there's real clarity around the legal framework, making sure the guidance is really, really strong. I hope that's what it is. We need it as soon as possible, and I am concerned about the delay, something that head teachers raise with me all the time, and children.
You talked about sex education and the materials that are used and shared in schools. At the moment, it seems schools, as well as having lots of different policies on how they deal with pupils who identify as a different gender, that they're going to lots of different organisations to get the materials for sex education. I mean, do you think that's something that should stop altogether? Should there be a sort of a centralised text that all schools are using, so it's totally joined up?
I mean, that's a great question. I did a piece of work on this to advise government. The things that I was really concerned about were absolute transparency of materials that have been used. Of course, parents should see them. I mean, and it doesn't have to be onerous.
It's hard for parents to get that transparency, isn't it?
It is, and we need it. Put it on the website. Have a parents' evening once a year to discuss it. In terms of, you know, yes, we should have centralised materials. Absolutely, the government's invested heavily into Oak National Academy, for example. Let's have shared free materials for schools there, and we should be, you know, working with again. This is something that head teachers talk to me about and they're worried about, so we really need to be supporting them. The other thing I'd say is, you know, we have to make sure that children are children and allowed to be children. And for me, the age-appropriate nature of anything we're doing is absolutely fundamental. You know, as Amar Manders, the Children's Commissioner, you know, what my 7 or 8 or 9-year-old, you know, needs to be hearing, and the school does have discretion on that, and it should be age-appropriate. You know, it needs to be really carefully handled, engaged with, you know, we need to prepare children for life, but it needs to be age-appropriate. I would say the older teenagers, definitely, in my sort of work with them, so we did some survey work, want to know about everything. So we do need to have those proper discussions, but they need to be handled very, very carefully with parents as partners.
And that is a concern, isn't it? If outside organisations are coming in, parents don't know what that guidance is, and those organisations aren't necessarily from a teaching background, are they? Or
absolutely. Look, as a head teacher and as someone who ran a group of schools, I would see it my business to set the ethos of my school and my schools, and I would see these RSE materials as really important. I'd want trained teachers teaching them. You know, one of the reasons I think external companies are often used is because sometimes the RSE curriculum, you know, gets left in on specialists. You know, maybe the PE teacher on the Thursday. Many schools take it very seriously, but in some schools, because of all sorts of reasons, they find themselves there. And
it's also a kind of a mortifying thing to have to discuss with a bunch of 9-year-olds,
yeah,
isn't it?
Hard.
No teacher really wants to do it.
It's hard. It's hard, but actually, being trained and doing it well is so important for children. I can't tell you in children's responses to me how important they find these lessons, and they want to learn about adult life, and more than anything they want to learn about relationships and just to understand a bit about it. So I think it's as a head, I think it really shouldn't be something that you farm out. It needs to be something that you own. It's integral part of the ethos, a key part of the ethos of your school. So I'm all in favour for having some really strong, good centralised materials that can be used for free, and heads really engaging with it, making sure they've got specialist teachers. Where do we want our children learning these things from? We don't want them learning it from TikTok or social media, do we? We want them learning it from home, and we want them learning it from trusted adults in school. And that's what children tell me they want, trusted adults to help guide them.
Dame Rachel de Souza, Children's Commissioner for England, thank you.